Welcome inside episode 482 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller out on Vancouver Island, and it's an Ottawa Senators game day. Ottawa comes in with 2 straight wins. They got 2 players back at practice, a brutal diagnosis, but Pillsy, Nick Holden, you said you wanted to hold it on to him. Well, the Sens have signed him to a year extension.
Yeah, a nice extension for Nick Holden. And although Batherson is out for long term, he's still with the boys at practice today. So you got to love hearing that. And a new all-star for the Ottawa Senators has been named.
Big show today. We also have a full preview of the game against the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll look back to what happened in early December when these Hurricanes fell to the Sens down south. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.
Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Today is Tuesday, January 27th, and Pillsy, let's get the negativity out of the way because I have a great ending planned for today's show. Drake Batherson, we knew it was an injury, we knew it was long-term, but the old high ankle sprain. That's a tough injury. Sounds like he'll be out months.
It certainly is a tough injury, and we kind of all expected that it was going to be a long-term injury right when it happened. I mean, classic salt-of-the-earth hockey player. They want to get off the ice as soon as possible on their own power, so made it look not so bad, but you could tell it was a bad one, and Drake was hurting, and it's going to be quite a while till we see him, and it's so damn unfortunate that he's not going to be able to enjoy the All-Star game because, and Brady said it best, I mean, Captain Shit this morning when they asked him about it, he was the guy that should have been representing them. Like, there's no doubt in his mind or anyone on that team that Drake Batherson is their All-Star, and they wanted to send him. So, I mean, Brady said he was interested in bringing Drake along, although with COVID times, bringing extra passengers isn't always allowed, so we'll see if that happens, but it would be a great trip for the boys, and it'd be nice for Batherson to at least soak in the atmosphere of an all-star game.
And he said he had never even been to Las Vegas. The Senators play there later on this year, and well, he won't be on that trip because even though that's in early March, Drake Batherson, I would say early April has to be the closest you'd expect. Okay, we talked about Aaron Dell yesterday. He's had way too much airtime on our show. 3-game suspension. Your quick thoughts on the punishment for a crime that doesn't make Drake Batherson healthy?
Yeah, and that's just it. DJ said it, like he kind of shrugged it off when asked about it, like, yeah, the league's doing their job. We got a 3-game suspension, but I don't care. Like, who cares if their 5th string goalie is out for 3 games when we're not playing them, when our top point scorer is out for months now in the most crucial time of the season, and like we've already mentioned, is going to miss his chance to go to his first All-Star game. So really, it's kind of a moot point. You're glad that the NHL looked at it at least, because the last time, and I think Mendes had this in his article, that a goalie was suspended was Ray Emery with the Ottawa Senators for slashing someone right in the face. So at least the league said, hey, okay, we can't let this guy get away with it anymore. I mean, 3 strikes, you're out. That was his 3rd time pulling crap like that. So I think it's good that he's suspended. It sets kind of a precedent for goalies that are thinking about making space for their defenders in the future. So I think it's good that it happened, but it doesn't change anything if you're the Ottawa Senators.
That suspension for Ray Emery was against Maxime Lapierre. And fun fact about that suspension, it was a play, so he was crashed the crease. Anyways, Razor got a little fired up. The game he got back from that suspension was the brawl in Buffalo.
Love it. Love it. Stay hot, Razor.
Absolutely. Hey, he wouldn't have let that game go without a little retribution, but you can't blame the Sens. They keep getting asked about, and it's like, what do you want them to do, really?
I think they did what they should have done. Like, if the score had been different, yeah, exactly. Like, if they had been losing, then yeah, sure, let's turn to fists instead of goals here, but you're up 3-0 against a crap team, crap goalie. Like, the thing, like, Brady Tkachuk could have just done his thing that he did with Lemieux, right? Bad teammate, bad guy.
Bad guy.
He's going to be out of the league in a few years, too. That also probably applies to Aaron Dell. So I think you're right, Ross. We have enough time talking about this guy. So that's it for the Aaron Dell talk.
Let's get into the guys who were back at practice, but still on the injured list. If you're watching on YouTube, again, you can follow the show on YouTube and subscribe. It does go a long way for us. Please hit the like button in the corner as well. And if you are watching on YouTube, I'm pulling up, again, graphic designer of the year. Hold your applause, please. But the Ottawa Senators do have a growing list of injured players, and that includes Dylan Gambrell, who DJ Smith said is day-to-day. But the two guys back at practice, Nikita Zaitsev and Connor Brown. Funny enough, their former teammate is coming to town as the starting goalie for the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll hold on for that preview later on in the show, but it sounds like they might get one game before the All-Star break, which is coming quick and fast next weekend. Great to see them back, though, especially Connor Brown. Like, the depth at the right wing side is so thin right now. They need him back soon. And he was red hot that game against Calgary.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate that happened. And for it to happen the way it did in warmups, getting hit by a puck off the crossbar is also very unfortunate. But yeah, it's nice to see Brownie back on the ice here because there's only so many right wingers in this organization, and he's the most veteran one of them all. So I think definitely that's a good sign. Well, I guess Tyler Ennis, you got to throw him in there as well. But Connor Brown, big part of this team, and we're excited to get back.
Highest paid right winger would be a good way to put it as well. And he contributes the most on the PK, power play, all situations. He's a guy.
Well, no, Drake makes more than him now.
Well, I meant healthy guys. Yeah. So no, good point there though, as Drake makes under $5 million.
Yes,
the team
under
would be
$5
quick
million.
to point out 4.975. Okay. So not only was he back, but Nikita Zaitsev, you got to think and hope that it's Josh Brown, the odd man out whenever Zaitsev does get back. I'm worried it's going to be Lassie Thompson, who had a +4 outing with an assist against the Buffalo Sabres. If you're just listening, we'll run through the Senators injury list right now, and we'll include Eric Brandstrom on that, even though it's not an injury per se. He's out in COVID protocol. His estimated return date is January 30th, so he'll be in the lineup if all goes according to plan against the Edmonton Oilers on the 31st. Dylan Gambrell day-to-day. We don't know when he'll be back skating. It's listed as upper body. Discussed already, Zaitsev and Brown. Zaitsev with his heel. Brown was wearing the jaw tray attachment on his helmet this morning at practice. Both of those guys, by the way, wearing non-contact jerseys, so not quite there yet. Colin White, we're thinking February, March, maybe in that range. It was great to see him back on the ice for one practice, but I think that was them just throwing him a bone because he can only bag skate with Sean Donovan and Jesse Winchester so many times. And then Drake Batherson, Shane Pinto, we've got them as potential April returns. And then Crooker, we hope Angus Crookshank can return for a late April, just to feel good about himself going in to the offseason and not having a complete year taken away from him. But that list, there's some talented players on there, Pillsy. All teams go through it, though. How do you hope to see the Senators battle through this latest injury bug that's going through the dressing room?
Well, I mean, we've had some good showings of improvement from bottom six guys, and kind of the next man up theory has been happening. Like think about Timmy, think about Formanton, think about Ennis, even Gaudette. You can throw him there as well. Like these guys are getting more opportunities, and they're starting to get some points on the stat sheet. So I think, obviously you don't want any of your players to get injured. But if you're the Ottawa Senators, kind of in a weird spot trying to figure out a way to boost out of this rebuild, it's not the worst thing if we're trying to find some sort of silver lining, because now we're getting looks at JBD. We're getting looks at Lassie Thompson. These guys are going to get opportunities. The players that are unrestricted free agents, they're getting a chance to showcase themselves, hopefully bump that value for trade deadline, because there's going to be some guys moving out here. Nick Holden, none of them, thankfully, but there's opportunities is what injuries cause, right? Like one door closes, another one opens for someone else. So let's see who can take advantage of these revolving opening and closing doors.
I really hope Adam Gaudette continues to put up points offensively, but hey, remember we were joking around? This guy was -4 in his first 15 minutes playing with Ottawa, albeit with a goal. Now you look at the stats, he's played 8 games with the Sens. He has 6 points. Like this guy, like say what you want about him, 2 multi-point games. He had the goal and the assist in Edmonton. And then last night or 2 nights ago, 2 assists against Buffalo. He's on a 2-game heater right now too, Pilsy. Don't let him get hot. He had an assist in the game against Columbus as well. And we discussed yesterday if it was the right move to keep that fourth, per se, line together with Ennis, Tierney, and Gaudette, or would Ennis or Gaudette have to move up the lineup into a top six role in the meantime while they sort out the Batherson out and then until Connor Brown gets back in the lineup. So we're going to touch on the lines. Morning skate is over. DJ Smith's spoken to the media. We'll give our reaction to Nick Holden extending with Ottawa for one more year. And it's a game day against the team that really started it all, Pilsy, right? This rut that the Senators were in, it coincided with the game against Carolina when they didn't deserve to win, although Anton Forsberg certainly did.
Yep.
And since then, it's been a much better trajectory for this Ottawa team. But first, before we get to all that, Pilsy, you've got a word from one of our favorite sponsors, although I'm mad at them based on my action last night.
Well, at least you were off the sidelines and in the action, Ross. And the best way to do that is to head to our partners at betonline.ag. You can go visit their website today. And since you're a loyal listener of the Locked On Senators podcast, you know we're going to hook you guys up with a promo code. So head to betonline.ag today. Sign up for your free account. And you're going to see a little box that says promo code. If you're watching on YouTube, it's right down below. If you're listening, it's Locked On. So make your account, use your promo code Locked On, and what that's going to do for you is going to give you a 50% welcome bonus. Thank you, Locked On Senators and betonline.ag, for a little extra shekels in your betting account. How that works is, let's say you have $100 in your very first day with your account. What you're going to get is 50% of that, math guy, $50 in free play money. Now you can use that to bet parlays, over, under, props, money line, puck line, reverse puck line. Don't forget about the NFL playoffs, NBA basketball going on. Ross was even getting in on the tennis down under. There's so many different things you can bet on, and you can get off the sidelines and you can get into the action and enjoy your sports a little bit more. And hey, why not get rewarded for your good takes, your hot takes, and all the above? Because you want to be in on the action, and you can do that at betonline.ag. Head there today, betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts.
Make sure you're Locked On Senators wherever you download your podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google Play, or subscribing on YouTube, where you can see us live and in the flesh. We've got some graphics we like to pull up, give you a little incentive to check us out on YouTube. And you can always advertise with the Locked On Senators podcast. You can reach out on Twitter or Instagram and let us know if you'd like to partner with the boys. Just had our biggest day yesterday, and we feel like we've been saying that a lot, Pilsy, but it's all credit to Senators fans and, well, the consistency, because you can find us free and available Monday through Friday, each and every day for the Locked On Senators podcast. And who doesn't look at a 4-14-1 team and say, let's do a post-game show? So
we
you
saw
can join
opportunity.
the YouTube. You can join the YouTube after each and every Ottawa Senators game, including tonight when they host the Carolina Hurricanes. But we'll save that preview for the end of the show. I want to get to Nick Holden first now, because what a revelation, not only on the ice, especially since being paired with Artem Zub, but this guy, every single video in the locker room, he's at the forefront as a true leader on this team. Pilsy, 1 year, $1.3 million. How much of that value will come in an off-ice capacity?
Quite a bit of it, to be honest. And the Senators, it took a couple tries. It took a Johnny Oduya. It took a Ron Hainsey. It took an Eric Goodbranson. It took a Braden Coburn. It took an Uncle Deli. But they finally found, out of all that crop of guys, they found a diamond in the rough in Nick Holden in that trade with Vegas for Evgeny Dadonov. So that was an excellent trade. When we first saw it, we just thought, okay, him and Uncle Deli are this year's pair and free agents that aren't going to work out here, and the Senators are gonna fall flat on this one. But that's not the case, because Nick Holden has been a stable part of this top four group. He's been a part of the shutdown pair, Zub and Holden, and it's worked out really great. And what this tells me, Ross, is, I'm just taking a guess, just speculating here, but Holden and his agent approached the Senators being like, we want to stay here. let's get something done right now. Nick Holden, as a lot of people know, he's got a family. If I'm not mistaken, I think 4 kids, at least 3. He's got a couple kids for sure, and younger. So being able to stay in one spot, he mentioned it today that him and his wife are from Canada. They want to stay in Canada. He obviously likes the culture and situation that's going on in the room. He feels like he can be a value leader there. He feels like he's getting the right ice time. He's connecting with the coaches. So I think it's an incredible move by Nick Holden and the Ottawa Senators to get this done. And only 1.3 mil for a top 4 defenseman. Sign me up.
I think in a perfect world next year, he's not necessarily a top 4 defenseman, though, because Jake Sanderson is on the way. And I'm going to leave you alone for your erasure of Mike Riley, Cody Golubeff, who got 24 games one year.
I don't put Mike Riley in that category.
Rotating door, though.
Yes, yeah, but he worked out exactly as planned.
Yeah, that's fair as well. But with Nick Holden, yeah, the numbers don't jump out, but when do they ever with a guy like him, right? It's maybe earlier in his career, actually had a 34-point season, but that's not
undrafted,
the role. Oh, yeah, didn't even notice that. 34 years old. Are you worried at all, though? Like, 34 years old, did they have to extend him now, or could this have been a piece of business that waited until the offseason, see how he ends the year? Especially, you maybe learn a lesson of giving Delly a 2-year deal, right?
Yeah, but this is different, right? Delly was given a 2-year deal before they saw how he fit in how things were going to work, right? They know the fit's good on and off the ice, like you talked about. And like I said, I really do think that this is a case where Holden and his agent approach the Senators, because otherwise, look at all the other UFAs, RFAs. Like Nick Holden should not be on Pierre Dorian's priority top of the list there, contracts to get done. And you mentioned maybe you wait a bit. I think if they approach you and they're willing to get a deal done, like Nick Holden at 1.3 is a great deal, even if, like you're saying, he's probably not going to be a top 4 defenseman, but you need veteran guys there. And if he ends up being a 7th defenseman, just with the way things go, that's totally fine. So I love this call. And it just lets other GMs know, like, hey, don't call me on Nick Holden. We're keeping him.
Yeah, I like that part of it as well. And if you look at what he was signed for in his previous contract, yeah, his cap hit's 1.7, but he's making 1.4 this year. So again, took $100,000 pay cut and said, loves being in Ottawa. And you can't have enough guys like that, especially one where now that you found a reliable partner for him. I thought earlier in the year, it was a little jumbled about what he was going to do. He was playing the right side a little bit as well, but he's found a home here as a penalty killing specialist, almost like a Ron Hainsey that's 5 years younger in a sense, right? Like Ron Hainsey was in the very final year. He's a plus player though with Ottawa. That blows my mind.
There's a reason DJ Smith loved him, is he actually wasn't that bad. It's just that's not what this team needed at that point. And thank goodness he didn't get the extension, and the old boys club didn't finish on there.
Yeah, no question. Well, Nick Holden then, signed for another year with the Ottawa Senators. So stick taps to him for getting that contract done. And he'll maybe feel a little freer playing out there, right? There's a lot of times where guys are holding the stick a little tighter in their contract year. They're not sure, one mistake could change it all. So let's see how this extension affects the player, but some stick taps certainly deserving here, eh, Pills?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's great for him and his family too, you don't got to move, you don't got to switch schools, all that kind of stuff. So this is a great deal all around, and we've been talking about it for a while. I don't think either of us kind of had any propositions to see what you could get for Holden on the market. We wanted to keep him, and there he is, safety first. He gets the boys fired up. That you can't put a dollar amount on that. That's a big part of the deal, and we're happy Nick Holden's back for another year.
Paulie, I know you're back, but I got to go with Murr. But not only that, the most recent video, I think, really exemplified his leadership the most, where he was the guy who gave Austin Watson the coin, the 3-year sobriety. There's a reason he's the guy that gave it to him, right? He's the guy who everyone looks up to in the room, not only because he's a towering presence at 6'5", but he's also just a steady, reliable dude. So credit to him for getting the contract, credit for the Sens for getting that extension done, and it's one less piece of business going into the off season. All right, Pillsy, now it's an Ottawa Senators game day hosting the Carolina Hurricanes. Before we get into tonight's lineups, locked on players, keys to victory, let's go back and look at the last time the Senators faced off in Carolina against a Hurricanes team that was red hot, not only overall on the season, but on home ice as well. The Senators go in there on the second night of a back-to-back after getting stomped by the Vancouver Canucks at home, and they hold on for a 3-2 win. It was 1-0 after the first period. Alex Formenton, back then it was only his third goal of the season, and he had 2 in that night. This was the game that really opened the door for Alex Formenton to start going crazy offensively, because since this game, he's a point-per-game guy. So they go up 2-0 in the game. Then Carolina on the power play made it 2-1. A minute and a half later, these pesky momentum goals are going to kill the Sens one of these days.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't that night, though, but it was Svechnikov that tied it up at 2. But then only 20 seconds later, it was Josh Norris from Batherson and Tkachuk, and then Anton Forsberg clearly did the rest. Forsberg made 47 saves in that game. What do you remember from that night on December 2nd?
It was the Forsberg show, right? Like, we were just so like, Forsberg had an amazing game opening night, but this was even bigger than that. And it really, didn't he play the next 5 games and got 5 straight wins, or that was not quite at that point?
No, it was exactly that point. So
yeah.
Ottawa had just come off a stretch where from after they lost, where do you want to do this from? After the win at home against Dallas, because remember, they started the season 2-1. You absolutely loved it, right? Yeah. After that Dallas win, they went 2-14-1. Whew.
And one of those wins was against Dallas again.
It was 4-1 at Dallas. That was the Neville Gallimore game where they tried to force him into a Stars jersey, and that was hilarious. But after that, that was one of the 2 wins. The other one was against Pittsburgh, that 6-3 win. 14 losses. We'd need 4 more shows if we were going to go and walk through all 14 of those. But that really changed the trajectory of this team, right? They win at Carolina, then they come home and beat the Avalanche, then they go on the road and beat the Devils in a shootout. Quick loss to the Islanders back home in second half of back-to-back. And then they get those 2 big wins against the Florida teams, the 4-0 shutout against Tampa and the 8-2 win in Florida. So, it really changed the outlook. So, before they played Carolina, they were 2-14-1. And then after, including the Carolina game, and after 9-5-2. So, it's a tale of 2 teams here. And, of course, we also started the postcast. A lot of people are giving that credit. But what can they do to earn a second victory against Carolina? Because the way we're talking about them, we're kind of giving them a little bit of flack. They're also 28-9-2 and one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, Ross, and that cannot be understated, especially there was a couple injuries for the Hurricanes back then, most notably Tony DeAngelo. And
I thought you were going to say Derek Stepan, who is in the lineup expected tonight.
Yes, he is. But say what you want about DeAngelo, but on the ice, he has been an absolute stud for this Carolina Hurricanes, especially at $1 million. He's almost a point-per-game guy. So, he's back now for them, and that's going to be tough for the Ottawa Senators. And the Senators are much more injured than they were last time. No Brown, no Gambrell, no Zaitsev. And those guys played big minutes. Gambrell played 18 minutes. Connor Brown played close to 20, and Zaitsev played 26 minutes in that game. So this game is going to look much different than the first time. If we're going keys to the game, Ross, I'm going to start with stay disciplined, because this team, when I look for keys of the game, Ross, I usually go to NHL.com, the team stats, and sort through all the stats, see where I find an anomaly, right? Where is there a weak spot here? Yeah, I couldn't find one for the Carolina Hurricanes. They're one of the top power plays in the league, one of the best penalty kill. They allow the fewest goals against per game. They're the best in the league. Their face-off percentage is 54.4. This team gets it done in all areas of the ice. And I just talked about power play. Yeah, they're clicking a 26.3% rate. So this team is hard enough to not only stop, but just contain at a 5-on-5 rate. If you let them get on the power play, Aho, Svechnikov, Trocheck, the guys on the back end, DeAngelo, there's so much talent here that if you give them a man advantage, it's more like 26% of the time they're going to have success there. So for me, the Senators have to stay disciplined because they don't have those shutdown guys like Connor Brown, Dylan Gambrell, and Nikita Zaitsev. That's a big part of your penalty kill gone there. So they need to make sure they don't allow too much time for the Hurricanes to have a man advantage. Otherwise, they're going to be playing catch up all night long.
Way you avoid playing catch up is like they did in the first meeting against Carolina, score the first goal. And when the opponent scores first, Carolina is 9-6-1, still over 500. But when they score first, they're 19-3-1. When they're leading after one period on home ice, 9-0. When they're leading after two periods on home ice, they're 12-1. So try to play with a lead. And I know that's easier said than done. A way that they can do that is continue to get contributions from the depth pieces. And I think let's save the locked on and look out. I want to take a peek at the Carolina Hurricanes lineup right now because, there's not really a whole lot of names that the average hockey fan would know, considering how amazing this team is. A lot of guys who are maybe unsung or just working their way into earning a reputation at the NHL level. Like we know about Sebastian Aho, Teravainen, and those two guys work so well together. But like Seth Jarvis, I don't know if lots of National Hockey League fans have appreciated how unbelievable this kid's playing at 20 years old. Martin Neskash, a guy who I was excited. We got to see him play when he was in the minors when he came to Belleville, and I had my eye on him. He's unbelievable. World Junior star as well. And then there's a few other guys like Nino Niederreiter down on the third line, another guy to highlight. But I was working my way to the fourth line because whenever this matchup happens, we have to pull up this photo from the rookie tournament. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, the highest paid fourth line center in NHL history, unofficially. He might not be, but he's making $6 million, and he's been stapled on the fourth line playing with Derek Stepan. So we know we like to poke fun at Montreal Canadiens for making that selection back in the day. Well, Carolina seems to have overpaid for him in the role that he's playing there, hey?
Oh, that's an understatement. That's one of the biggest overpayments ever because, Ross, not only did you give him 6.1 mil, you had to cough up draft picks with the offer sheet, right? Ooh. So they paid an unbelievable price. And now his starting base point for salary contract negotiations is 6.1 mil. And I know it's fun to poke fun and say he's on the fourth line, but look at those centers ahead of him. I think it's not so much detriment to Kotkaniemi's game why he's down there. It's just the lineup just shakes up so much better when you have Aho, Trocheck, and then Stahl. He's not what he used to be, that's for sure. He's hardly getting any points here, but he's the captain. He's a big part of that team, so he's going to get minutes for sure. So I think Kotkaniemi isn't really a massive part of their immediate plans, but he is a big part of their future, I would assume, considering what they gave up to acquire him.
A little ricochet shot at the Montreal Canadiens. We always like to do that. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, although he only has 19 points in 39 games, 9th on the Hurricanes in scoring, he would be 4th on the Montreal Canadiens. That's what I was going to
say. He'd be right with Timmy, so you can't say too much there.
Right. Yeah, that's fair in itself, but when you look at the Habs, they just haven't had any offense. Their leading point getter has 24 points this year, Nick Suzuki, and only 8 of those are goals. So that's a story for another day. But with the Carolina Hurricanes, my lookout player, I'm going in the pipes. We already know the starter is Frederik Andersen, and Sens have had success against Freddie Lalime before during the regular season, but he has looked unbelievable. If not for Igor Shesterkin, I would say he's right up there in the Vezina conversation. Is that egregious of me to say? When you look at the numbers, man, 927 save percentage and a 22-6-0 record. Whew.
I don't think that's egregious to say. Yeah, for sure. He could be up in the Vezina conversation. And like I mentioned, the Carolina Hurricanes goals against per game, they lead the league with only 2.41. So this goaltending duo has got it done. But I mean, cool story, Freddie Lalime. Let's see you get it done in the playoffs, right?
People who are just starting listening to this show are probably like, "What? Why are they calling him Freddie Lalime?" Well, if you've seen what the Leafs have done in Game 7s in the playoffs during his tenure, and did you know he had an .895 save percentages last year in Toronto? There's something in the water there, and we'll see what Jack Campbell can do in long-term outlook. But when it's Freddie Andersen, his playoff numbers, it's just like Patrick Lalime. The
Really?
numbers aren't necessarily bad. Like in the years in his playoff years, yeah, an 896, that was brutal. But other than that, 915, 922 save percentage. And this past year, a 936 save percentage, and they still lose because it's the inopportune goals
Yes.
that he allows at bad times. And he's not the most athletic goalie. He really relies on his positioning. So if I'm the Sens, I'm trying to move the puck around as much as I can, try to throw him off his angles. I'm looking out for him and his 885 save percentage against Ottawa in 18 career games. So I'm banking on a little familiarity there against him. And I think the Sens, I'm confident going into tonight. Maybe I got my blinders on, but I'm confident going into this game. Who are you looking out for?
That's interesting that you're confident, Ross. I think I'm the complete opposite. I
Borderline
think
cocky.
I'm on the other side of this. I think this could end up real bad for the Sens just because when you look at how this Carolina Hurricanes team is doing, then all the injuries the Sens have here, it's going to need to be a goalie stealing the show again for the Sens if they're going to have any chance here. And Ross, take a quick peek at the Carolina Hurricanes schedule while I give my lookout player. All of their games recently have been high-scoring games that usually they're on the right side of.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. This could get interesting real quick. And to talk about high scoring, I'm going to lead into my lookout player, and I already mentioned it, Tony DeAngelo. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of this guy playing, and obviously we know about his off-ice stuff, and we don't need to get into that. We know where we stand there. I think that's pretty clear. But looking at on the ice, like, he's got a pretty solid streak going here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, and that's 4, 7, 9 points in his last 5 games as a defenseman. Now, you start thinking that's Dougie Hamilton numbers, and he basically replaced Dougie Hamilton's production for $8 million less.
Wow.
Or $7 million, I guess. What did Dougie get on the market? 8 or 9 mil?
I think he got 9.
Yeah, so $8 million less, and you're getting the same production. Like, that is wild, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of contracts he ends up with everything going on. But that's a player that's running the show for that decor. Obviously, Slavin's there, but he doesn't quite put up the points. So I'm going to be looking out for Tony DeAngelo here, especially if they get power play opportunities.
I think the reason I'm so confident in tonight's game is this one photo I saw. I'm pulling it up on our YouTube right now. Like, does that not look like a dejected bunch of Hurricanes? And of course, it's Drake
2
Batherson
months ago. Yeah,
I
with
know.
a player that's injured long term.
But just how they're all stacked into the crease. I absolutely love that.
And with a different goalie. Like, I see where your head's at, Ross, but that might as well be a picture from the early 1900s, if I'm concerned. Like, that's so long ago with so many different variables.
In their last 12 games, just to focus on your point of the Carolina Hurricanes' high-scoring offense, 55 goals scored in their last 12 games.
Oh, my God, yeah.
That's a lot of goals. Now, not going to get the average for you or anything, but that includes being shut out in one game. Yeah. So they were shut out against the Columbus Blue Jackets, 6-0. They've only scored less than 4 goals once in a game, and they lost 4-3 in overtime to the Florida Panthers that night. That's a lot of goals.
How are you thinking about your cocky prediction now?
It's Freddie Anderson, man. I'm not worried about Freddie Anderson, and I never will be.
Okay. All right.
I'm worried about what the Senators have. And let's pull up the projected lines for tonight's game against the Carolina Hurricanes. I'll run through them. Pilsy, you give me your thoughts as I finish up. Norris, Tkachuk, Zach Sanford, the top line. Tim Stützle with Alex Formenton, and Tyler Ennis is going to join them on the second line. The third line, we're flipping from what TSN 1200 reported because there's no way that DJ Smith would ever have both those guys on a fourth line, especially with the injuries right now. So our third line tonight is Clark Bishop between Nick Paul and Austin Watson, which leaves Chris Tierney, Adam Gaudette, and we didn't mention it, the Ottawa Senators have called up friend of the show, Igor Sokolov, for tonight's game. He starts out at left wing with Tierney and Gaudette. On defense, Thomas Chabot with Lassie Thompson, Nick Holden, fresh off his extension, with Artem Zub, and that leaves Mete with Josh Brown. And starting goalie tonight for your Ottawa Senators is Matt Murray, coming off a 32-save shutout.
Yeah, so this lineup kind of shaked out the way I thought it would. And look, guys, I'm not trying to be a party pooper. I'm stoked Sokolov's up here, but He's going to be playing a fourth line role, probably under 10 minutes a night. Well, maybe he gets a little look on the second power play
He's
unit.
going to get some power play time. You know what? I'd put him right up on the first unit because I don't want him to worry about
fair.
to worry about facilitating the puck. I would just put him up
shoot
there with Timmy, with Shabbat, with the guys who can really find seams. And I just want him to be like the Klay Thompson of hockey. You know how he's just catch and shoot, catch and shoot, catch and shoot. Yeah. That's what I want Sacco to be doing on the PP tonight. So I'm excited for him. And I think that it's going to be good for him to get up on that first unit. I don't know if it'll happen, but of course there's a big absence now with Drake Batherson. So somebody's going to have to take that spot up on the first unit. And I hope it's Igor.
Yeah, me too. I mean, if he's going to be here, get him playing power play time. I just think he scored 5 straight games in Belleville. He's on such a rhythm playing top line minutes. Now you're going to get him in a fourth line role. I don't know. I don't love the move, but it's always fun to see Sokolov up.
I think if the game calls for it, we could see him take some shifts with Norris and Tkachuk. Just brainstorming here. I think that could be, you need a little quick strike offense, maybe after a penalty kill, because we know Brady doesn't kill penalties ever. So if they've got a situation where maybe you've killed off a power play and Tierney's been out there on the PK, maybe you rotate him through and play him with Tkachuk and Norris and try to get some quick strike offense there, because we know that's Igor's calling card. This guy is going to be an offensive player. He's going to get quick releases off and he's going to fool goalies. And call me crazy. I think I've already proven it so far this episode, being cocky going into tonight's game. I need to take this out. I need to look in the camera. Tonight, Igor Sokolov scores his first NHL goal.
All right, there we go. You heard it first.
So I guess he's got to be my locked on player then.
I think when you pause and say I got to look into the camera and make a statement like that, yeah, it makes sense that he's a locked-on player there. And
you just said it, Pills. He's got goals in 5 straight games. The stick's red hot. I don't care what level he's playing at.
Yeah, fair. So, hey, I hope he does. That'd be great, and it'd be nice to see the boys kind of rally around one of their players scoring a first NHL goal in a game, rather than watching another team be excited about getting his first NHL goal. So that'd be nice to flip the tables there. For my locked-on player, Ross, I'm going to go with Nick Holden. I mean, this guy's fresh off a new contract. He's happy to be in Ottawa. He gets to stay another year with his family. He's stoked to be with the boys. Batherson, one of the glue guys, is not around, so Nick Holden's going to have to keep things light. Igor Sokolov will help as a glue guy as well. He's basically, I mean, he was Batherson's billet brother, so he's like a brother, and he knows how to get the boys fired up, even if he's a younger guy that's not around all the time. So I like Nick Holden in this game, and like I mentioned, a lot of these shutdown aspects, the players that were used to shut down the Carolina Hurricanes last game, are not here. So that kind of responsibility is going to fall much more heavily on Artem Zub and Nick Holden. So I'm not going to say Nick Holden gets a goal here, but I'm sure he's going to have a real good game, and there's going to be a little pep in his step. Let's say that.
Be a lot cooler if you did.
Definitely, yep.
You're not going to? Come on. How about a point?
Yeah, okay. We can get a secondary assist for Nick. Oh yeah.
All right, there we go. Sensei, it's all good vibes right now as the Senators are 9-5-1 since that last win against the Carolina Hurricanes. So you've got your locked on player. Did we get a look out? Yeah, Tony D'Angelo for you. I've got Freddie Anderson on mine. Now, if we look upcoming schedule real quick, Carolina tonight, and then they've got 2 more games left on this homestand. They clearly started out. That was the easiest win they're going to have all year. The Buffalo Sabres stink. They are a bad hockey team. They had a bad goalie, and it's just a shame that they were able to knock a few guys out of the lineup. But that, from a pure hockey perspective, you're not going to get an easier win than they got, I don't think, for the rest of the year. So how are they going to go back up here against a team that scores at will, that has depth on all 4 lines? And that's something that worries me about tonight, if I'm going to be worried at all, which I'm not. Easy win for the Sens. Alfie's doing something back there, but it's an easy win for the Ottawa Senators tonight. However, if it's not, it's because Carolina's 3rd and 4th lines outmatched Ottawa's. Now, just for fun, because it's Kotkaniemi, because it's Andrei Svechnikov as well, do you think that Brady sees that? Those are literally 2 of the 3 players that were picked ahead of him in the draft.
Yep.
You think he sees that and gets a little extra chip on his shoulder? He hasn't scored a goal in a few games now.
Yeah, exactly. And it would be good to get some offense from Brady. I mean, 12 shots and no goals. You got to get
And
one
then
of those
9
through.
against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so he's working towards it. And as far as that goes, Ross, I'm not so sure there's a chip between him and Svechnikov. I think if you redrafted, you could definitely argue that you still take Svechnikov over Brady, and that's
I think it's
fair.
close, though.
That's what I mean, yeah. But I don't think Brady's looking at it like, oh wow, the Carolina Hurricanes, what a dumb scouting move taking Svechnikov over me. However,
but I think he does. It's just how he's built.
I don't think so.
He'll
with
probably say that about Dahlin too.
No, I don't think so. But however, with Montreal and Kotkaniemi, I think there's some real blood boiling there still, and I don't think that will ever subside. Even though he's already moved on from Montreal, and that was kind of a quick fun story. But I think definitely up against Kotkaniemi, there's something to be said there because Brady really turned it up when they played Montreal when Kotkaniemi was there. I mean, we all remember that overtime goal that he got. So I think we're going to see a big game from Brady here, especially with Batherson out. And I think Brady's still a little bit hot about how that all went down as well.
Yes, that is fair. Sorry, I'm having a laugh because I'm just seeing again Kamikaze Cohen, Mason Cohen. We discussed him last week on the show where he got a he got a stomach tattoo of Josh Norris's face. Let that sink in. And then Josh Norris didn't respond for a while. He went out, I think it was Bleacher Report. He went on somewhere and was like, hey, Josh ghosted me. And I mean, do you really blame him? That's kind of creepy in a way. Although I could agree. And like he said it was going to be a tattoo of his face on his stomach. Josh
they had already talked about it. Yeah. So if he got the tattoo, then approached him, weird move.
Different.
But they had already talked about it. There was a bill of sale if you want.
A gentleman's agreement.
Yes, a gentleman's agreement, definitely.
So, update to the story. Mason did receive a signed jersey from Josh Norris and a copy of the Hockey News that did the Senators' Future Watch, signed by Drake Batherson, Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, and himself, of course. So, you know what? That's all in good fun. My favorite part was on the note he wrote on his jersey, Pilsy. He said, thanks for your support.
Yeah, thanks for your support. All the best. Like, this isn't this isn't a like Hallmark card that you're signing 300 autographs for and you just give a simple statement. This friggin' guy got a tattoo of your face, and not a bad one either. Like, if you look at that, or immediately you're like, that's Josh Norris. Like, it was a well done face tattoo on his stomach, and he gets just a simple thanks for the support, all the best.
That is so funny, man. We're gonna have Mason on during the All-Star break. Yes. It seems like it'll go first and only time I promise that we're gonna ask somebody to show us their stomach on this show.
We can't promise that.
All right, we cannot promise us. What we can promise though is that the postcast will be live. You're looking forward to it tonight after I'm going to be bragging like crazy when Igor scores his first NHL goal.
Oh, absolutely. And hey, I will gladly eat my own words and they will go down sweetly if Sokolov has a great game, plays top line minutes and scores. That'd be great. So I'll be there right there celebrating with you. And as always, so fired up for the postcast. I mean, the postcast is a revolution. It changed the game if you're an Ottawa Senators fan. So we love having you guys join. We love the chats being on fire. And Ross mentioned it, but I want to echo it. There needs to be a sponsorship opportunity here. I mean, the postcast is some of our most successful videos. The fans love it. So if you're an advertiser looking for a spot to get in now, because the postcast is climbing.
Finally, before we go today, I want to touch on Jake Sanderson because he's heading to Beijing on Sunday morning. He'll be flying out of LAX, and in classic Jake Sanderson fashion, he told Brad Schlossman he hasn't really thought about it too much because they've got a huge weekend series at the Ralph against St. Cloud State, and they've lost 4 games in a row. So we're going to keep our eye on how the Nodak Sens play because, again, we want him to do well, but if he doesn't, it could be better for the Ottawa Senators if that roundabout way makes sense at all. It's going to be so awesome. Like, the Olympics aren't even that far away. I've got in my calendar 2 weeks today, Pilsy. Jake Sanderson makes his Olympic debut.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. That's insane to say. If you had told us that at the start of this season, that would have been mind blowing. But here we are, and Jake Sanderson is and will be an Olympian.
And well, we hope the next Olympics he'll be there because he's an NHLer and that they will be allowed back to participate in the 2026 Olympics. All right, great show today, Pillsy. And before we go as well, if you're looking, because revenge games have been at the top of the agenda of late, right? You think of Anton Forsberg beating the team that drafted him on Sunday, Tyler Ennis scoring a hat trick against the team that drafted him on Tuesday. Clark Bishop gets an opportunity at center. Sound the alarms. Clark Bishop is playing center in the NHL. Does that mean the playoff push is on, Pills?
Well, I mean, Dorian's got to be looking at this like, finally, we have all the pieces in place, right? Clark Bishop, fourth line center. No one can stop us now. Now I know why you're so cocky, Ross. You got Clark Bishop at center, and you're feeling good. So, hey, I would love for Clarky to get one as well, get a goal up against his old team. That's got to feel good, and maybe there's some money on the board for that.
Guarantee it, you coward.
I will not guarantee a Clark Bishop goal. I've said a lot of dumb things. I've had a lot of hot takes, and if you guys want to witness one of my dumb takes, Derek Stepan will be playing in this game.
He's in the lineup.
So, yeah.
Guarantee a goal for him.
For Derek Stepan, how about this? If Timmy scores, I guarantee Derek Stepan matches it because he cannot let that one slip by, knowing the comparison that's been viral throughout Twitter, Kim compared to Tim Stutzla.
People don't forget. They don't forget. But Clark Bishop is looking for his first goal since his first NHL season. The only goal he's ever scored in the NHL in 41 games came with the Carolina Hurricanes. So we'll see him back in action tonight. The Senators, 6 p.m. start, and then the postcast. We'll see you right back here on our YouTube channel. But for today, we say goodbye. For now, for Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan and Alfie, making some noise in the background. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.